Okay.
Let's go.
In that case, I move that we call this meeting to order. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who is that second, please?
Bert.
Bert, thank you. Okay, so we had minutes, I think, Madam. Any other-
Before we get to the minutes, I just want to have a few remarks here. First, I will note that we are still under the Emergency Act, which I believe has been extended to July 15th. So this will continue to be a hybrid meeting, both in person and on Zoom. In the case of any technical difficulties, we will proceed in person, even if we lose the Zoom. And I just want to say a couple of things. These are my own comments. They don't represent anyone else. The Marshfield Conservation Commission and conservation staff are dedicated, knowledgeable, and committed to the protection of the town's resources. Volunteering for the Conservation Commission is a serious commitment. Each commissioner has to invest significant time to educate themselves on state and local regulations, policies, and procedures. The time spent on 2 hearings each month is the tip of the iceberg. There is extensive preparation necessary by each member of the commission before each meeting. We do this to ensure that our decisions are systematic, deliberate, and consistent so that everyone who comes before us is treated equitably. In the event of a person committing a violation in a resource area, we do our best to work with them. Enforcement is used only as a last resort. If we have to enforce, we follow due process. The party is notified prior to the issuance of an enforcement order and is given the opportunity to be heard. When I see the credibility and integrity of the Conservation Commission publicly called into question, I am ashamed for the town of Marshfield. No one who sits at this table expects to be thanked. However, seeing our integrity impugned in public is abusive to all civic-minded volunteers, and it should not be allowed to stand. And with that, we will move on to our business
Thank you, Madam Chair.
session. We have minutes,
Yes, we
minutes
do.
to approve.
Yes, I submitted 2 sets, and I apologize, the third I couldn't get out and done in time. You would have the March 1st and the March 7th meeting minutes. I didn't see any comments for edits. I did confirming from Commissioner Karen on both sets. So,
Does anyone have anything to add at this point? In that case, I move to accept the minutes for the March 1st meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And may I move to, do we have any edits on the,
no, both of those are
on
both
the on the
written.
7th? Then I move that we accept the meeting minutes from March 7th. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's the second on the first? Art, okay, got it. Or I'm catching up to you. Okay.
All right, now we are on to our business items, the de minimis activities. The first being the Cornhill Woodland tree removal along Cornhill Lane in the 25 to 50-foot setback to a bordering vegetated wetland. Is someone here to address this?
Is Karen McArdle out there? Okay, so I guess I'm gonna run with this. Karen McArdle approached the Conservation Department and had expressed that there were some serious tree problems during the October storms that took place in 2021 along Cornhill Lane. And as you know, there's a town-owned property over there with a long stretch. There are 2 legs of the property, and this is the longer one, 900 feet long. An oak tree had fallen down from the Concom property across the road during October, knocked down the power line, and basically cut off the end of the road from emergency services, and there's elderly people down there. And then additionally, they had no power and electricity. They had to have food served across the tree and so on and so forth. So they wanted to see if they could get some help removing that. We made a petition to DPW. At the time, they were stretched to the limits. so they weren't able to participate. So Mike Moresco and I, the town administrator, had spoken about this and basically identified there may be an opportunity here to have a shared project here. And only because it's a shared project, we're looking at and maybe engaging. This is very complicated. This is a conservation property. It's a 900-foot stretch. There are many decayed trees there that are going to come down progressively and cause more of this kind of situation. And the town administrator is trying to find a way to work with Karen McCart, who I expected to be here, and I know she will participate. They do have the means, and they do have the interest. And so I don't know the exact formula, but we've begun to get quotes, and we've had a meeting about a strategy. There's a threefold strategy, which you have on written up there on page 1. A ground crew will go in and clear maybe a 6 to 8 foot area. There's a stone wall next to the road, and it drops down, and there's all kinds of good stuff in there, like bittersweet, multifloral rose, overgrown greenbrier, all kinds of vines hammering the trees. So a ground crew would be composed of probably Pathfinder volunteers and those who are capable of managing that kind of situation, possibly throw some rangers at it and clear that out. And then there would be a contracted aspect, phase 2, to drop the trees and chip them up. The concept would be to spread the chips on the 6 to 12 foot area that had been cleared by the ground crew under phase 1. And that would probably cost in the neighborhood of, we're saying 13 to 16,000. It exceeds 10,000, therefore it would need to go to combis. We don't really relish that, but that's the way it is. So long story short, that's that. And then phase 3 would be a planning plan to augment the area with the wood chips with high bush blueberry and eastern red cedar that I've been finding over at the rail trail during a recent walk with Kevin Sealand and the 202 Moraine Street subdivision red gold personnel. So we could probably pull those plants with volunteers, move them over, and we could also, there's other ones as well in the power lines within Eversource's right away along the Carolina Hill. So all these are possibilities. That would be a much better tree to have over in there if we could, in the high bush blueberry. So this is the concept. They are all in. Mike's not here tonight. Obviously, Karen wasn't able to make it. Often she has elder care issues, so I'm going to assume it's that. But she's met with us. She's shown interest, and I don't have any reason to think that she is not motivated to participate. I would encourage the commission to say first that it's okay for the work to take place. The trees are decayed. I've had our rangers who have got a lot of experience look at them, and I've had two arborists look at them as well, Steve Moraski and George Theobald, and they're in trouble. They're in difficult ways. So if the commission will allow that, that would be step one, and then we can put together a little bit more information to see if there's wetlands at large, and if conservation permitting is also required. So this might require either de minimis, a request for determination of applicability, or a notice of intent, and I would petition that if it is a notice of intent, that it would be without an engineered site plan. So that's it in a nutshell. Sorry, I don't have pictures. There's about 25 trees that have been marked. If you drive down there, they have orange tape around them.
So there is still a question as to whether it's an RDA or an NOI?
Correct. That's
So
hanging out there.
Why are we have it on the de minimis roll tonight?
So
What's the
I made a
process?
little mistake. That's why.
Okay.
So is this all on Concom land, or is this
Yeah,
a
it's all-
combination of private land and?
Excellent question. So if you go down, there's like 1 or 2 trees beyond the stone wall, and I specifically asked the ranger why we tagged it. Oh, we thought we were here, and I'm like, okay. There's a relationship between the two families, so that's up for grabs, those last 2 trees. There are about 25 trees. If those 2 trees that are off the property line, from what I can tell, are out, you're looking at 23 trees. So, good question, Bert. Thank you.
So it seems to me that we can't really approve this as de minimis right now
That's-
until we have further information.
This was supposed to be a 2-parter. I didn't do well on it. I apologize.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I just have, these are 23 trees. How big are these trees?
25. They range. They're small to pretty large pines. They're way up there, like 80 feet high, and some of them are tinier, like this size. But 7 feet of the tree is completely scoured out from the ground up. I don't know how it's still standing. So they're all, if you want to walk down, you'll see the trees, and, you know,
I
if you
need
want to.
more information.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll table, all right.
Yeah, I think we need to table
Very
this
good.
until we have more information.
Can we get the
Map would
commissioners,
probably be the most important information.
what's that, Bert?
A map showing where it is. We will
Map,
take a look.
okay. How about a site walk? Can everybody maybe make some time to just go down the
I'll make
trees? Or
some time. And
Yeah,
just gotta drive by and see them, they're all marked.
That 25 trees is a lot of trees.
I think we marked them B1, 1 through 25. So that's a lot of trees, yeah.
Yeah,
But any one of those can fall down, and you'll see that they're all damaged, and we're looking at replacing them with, native vegetation that would be more meaningful to the area. These trees are gonna come down, and it's going to be just a matter of time before they're knocking power lines down again.
yeah, no, I understand it may be a hazard, but I think we need to get our ducks in a row before we
Yeah.
make a
okay.
determination on the
So-
best way to proceed.
So we will table then, based on that, the permission, and we will table the permitting, okay? Very good. Sorry, I didn't do a good enough
Nope.
job, and I couldn't get these people here.
I move that we table item B1A, the Cornhill Woodland tree removal. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Okay, next up is 85 Wellington Avenue, shed construction in a 25-foot setback. Dr. Danielle Martin reached out to the Conservation Commission to construct a shed on her property inside the fence line. The shed is part of a current building permit and is awaiting conservation sign-off. 3 commissioners, myself, Susan Karen, and Rick Carberry have already agreed that this is a de minimis activity.
She provided a PowerPoint too. We could see it. It's quite good. I can get to
Can you
it.
pull that up?
Yeah, give me a second. I'm struggling these days with these kind of things. There is a way to do it. Let's see if I
I
can.
think we're probably all familiar with this site.
Yeah, if you're not interested, that's fine. I, whatever you want. I just want to make sure she didn't feel like we didn't try, that's all.
Do you want to see the PowerPoint?
I don't need to.
How about you know what you do, time limit on me, and that'll take care of it.
I've seen it.
Okay, you want to see it?
No, I said I have seen it.
Oh, you have seen it,
Yeah.
great, okay.
Um,
That was pretty good quality overall.
So I move that we approve this placement of the shed in existing lawn area as a de minimis activity. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And are you Karen McCardle? I'm sorry, we
Oh,
just...
Karen, what we could do is this, why don't we keep going through it, and we'll return to it, and then we'll bring her up to speed. Just do it-
Okay.
Why don't we do a debrief, because we do need a second session. Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, thanks for coming, but they need a second session from us, but we're gonna give them a quick debrief later. Okay.
We'll be back to you. All right. Next up is 243 Ridge Avenue. Replace an existing shed, add a new fence in floodplain and 50-foot setback.
Yeah, it's existing fence, and then install a new section of the fence. This one came before the commission about 7 months ago. It's part of SE 422889. Bob Crawford did the plan, and there's an existing fence if you're facing the South River towards the ocean on the left-hand side, and they would like to put another one on the right-hand side as well. I think seemed like a de minimis to me. I just didn't know, so I threw it out there, and I believe I sent this one out to commission. Rick's responded. I think I got it to you at 11th hour, though. I could show you that one, I think. Let's see.
Did I respond? I read it.
I think it came in kind of late. You might have, but I haven't seen email.
Yeah, you know, it came in late. But I did see it, so.
There's Martin. I don't seem to have that one handy. Well, see, Lovey. It's pretty straightforward. They're using the existing fence, and it's just rickety, and they're going to take it and replace it. I would say put in the standard 6-inch gaps under the fence to allow flow of water, and it's probably a de minimis. I'm not sure if it needs to rise to the building commissioner's level or not, but yeah, it's in the floodplain too.
Have they been advised that the building commissioner may need to?
I haven't gotten into that to him. I said obtain all subsequent permits. And I was talking to Mike about that today, and the town administrator, and I don't hand off. When I say that, it's up to them. It's the
It's up to them.
individual duty. Otherwise, grocery shopping, everything, you know what I mean, otherwise, so.
Anyone have any,
No?
a problem with this?
No.
I move that we agree that this is a de minimis activity. May I have a second?
Second.
Art,
All in favor? Aye.
yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Can we return to
Sure,
Mrs.
whatever
McCardle
you
now,
want, you're-
since
yeah,
she's here?
absolutely.
You were first on the agenda here, and while we agree that something needs to happen here, we need to have better information before we can decide how the process needs to go. So the commissioners are going to go take a look at the area and decide whether we can do a de minimis or whether we need permitting of some sort to cover this.
There's wetlands over there, and Karen, if you want to just give a 3-minute brief on it, I've tried explaining it rapidly that you and I have interacted. We met with Mike Moresco. We've requested for the DPW, and we've started to reach out to some consultants, so we've kind of defined this a little bit. I'm going to try to bring in some Pathfinder volunteers. This is extremely rugged work if we do this. The plantings can be done by anybody if we do that part of it, but the commission has to approve it from A to Z in terms of the access to the property and also whether or not there's a need for a conservation permit. So that's what they're kind of looking at. But they would like to hear from you just briefly since you're here.
Hi, Greg.
Aye.
I know Danny well.
I know you do, yeah.
Karen, what's your address for the record, please?
100 Corn Hill.
Thank you.
This whole thing started, the last few storms, the conservation land entrance on the bottom of Corn Hill, not the top entrance, even though that was horrible, but there's a lot of dead trees along the street. My parents live at the end of the street, as you know. The latest storm, a tree came down, a huge tree. DPW wouldn't come out. Eversource was backed up. It ended up after 2.5 days of my parents being stuck down there and delivering food under a tree. The guys on the street got together and took it out as best they could, because my parents were also running out of propane for the generator.
Right, and they need, you have to be able to get an emergency vehicle in there
They're
and,
93 years old.
yeah.
This is the second time it has happened in the last 2 years. The response is horrific. I don't care if DPW has union rules or what, there's humans living down. So that's how this whole thing came up. Because if a tree came down in front of my house, I'd have to get it cleared up and make the area safe immediately. This is in front of conservation land, no one responds, and I've had enough. I'm not putting my family's life at risk. And when you see it, you'll understand the problem. It has also diminished the property values on our street. It looks like a war zone. And it's not been tended. Conservation likes having all this open space. I love having an open space. However, if it can't be maintained and there can't be a budget big enough for them to maintain it, it should be cut off, any more additional lands before this moves forward. And, my parents had put boardwalks in there. We spent $50,000 with Dave McDonald putting boardwalks in there. We're not getting any help. So.
Okay. No, I am familiar with what it's like down there, and I know there has been terrible storm damage, and that your parents especially are cut off down there. So we will move this as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I was thinking, can we get it on the 19th? Because there was interest in doing this sooner rather than later, because it's the next set of storms, which would start in August, which, I gotta tell you, when you go down and watch it, one of the trees is in such rough shape. And it's not the biggest tree, but it doesn't take much to knock these out. And she's right, it's really ragged over there. And I would also say this is rare and unusual because we have a participant here who will match the town. So Karen, it's 13 to 16 right now is the quotes, and it's going to go to combis, so you know. And that's not been shared a lot with anybody but this group, and now with Karen. It's just fresh off the press. So it's above the 10,000 threshold, which means you have to go out to the open market and see who gets the best bid. Usually that's how that works.
I don't think
So,
you even need to schedule anything, Bill. Send us the lots with,
We'll
You
just
know,
go out
just,
when we can.
okay, fair enough.
show us where it is, and I think all of us can find our way there and take a look, and we'll get back to you
Okay.
immediately.
Yeah,
Okay, so then we'll have it ready for the 19th, it sounds like.
On a personal tour.
Karen, hi, I have a question for you. Who in the DPW did you contact? Did you go through the highway department or,
I went through Mr. Moresco.
And it was Tom.
well,
Oh,
Tom.
no,
Oh,
the
so-
storm, during the storm? I
yeah,
called
for the,
directly, I called the DPW office. I was told that they would call Eversource to try to get them out there. I called the police. I called the fire department. No one could get anyone that would acknowledge that this goes above and beyond when there's human lives involved.
well, I manage a park for the town, and I recently had a dangerous tree, not even close to what you're describing, and I went through Carolyn Shanley, who is an administrative assistant there. She contacted me to the highway department directly. I didn't go around anyone else. They came out the next, that you talked to them too?
Yes.
They came out in a week. They went and inspected it right away, and it's gone.
So can
So I
I-
guess I'm surprised that,
In a week.
and it was town-owned land as well, so.
Yeah, but this was during the storm. I
It was
had to
power
go
lines,
through
though.
the
But,
power
but even afterwards? But, so there was no
Well,
emergency
as the
people?
storm wound down, the men from the street went down and all got together. In fact, some guy came down in a
there
pickup
was-
truck who happened to have a chainsaw, and
Okay.
we don't even know who he was.
Just could I
I'm
step?
just
Could I
surprised that
step
it
in first?
took them
To
so
your
long.
point, here's what's going on. That, during that period of time, anything that had power line snags, DPW couldn't touch, and that's what happened in October. But later, we were looking at the trees themselves, and, we
But I
went
mean,
right
like,
to.
just,
yeah.
I'm just saying, I know it was a different set of circumstances, but they were responsible.
That's right.
So
You got
I'm
it now.
surprised that,
I'll go over
surprised at
tomorrow.
what happened, and that's
Okay,
terrible.
if I had a free moment, I'd take you down there. They're all marked, and if you want to, we got numbers on them. I marked them with Dave Sampson and Dave McDonald. I took pictures of everything so that we have that. I agree that there's not proper preparation, but I want to make you aware of this. This is a very rare and unique situation. We get people asking us, hey, can you take these trees down? No, we cannot, because we don't have the budget. And if DPW can't step in, then that's not going to happen. Here we have a unique situation where the town is going to match with a resident for the work, and that's the difference. And that's the only reason you're seeing this.
okay. Well, yeah, I can go tomorrow. I
I'll
mean,
go
I'm,
tomorrow.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
I will
I
look
appreciate
and-
that.
But, yeah, it's just a question of how
Absolutely.
do we need to proceed here?
Yeah, no,
So
agreed.
that it's
And I think
done
when you look down,
properly.
Craig, you're gonna see some wetlands, so I think there's, something needs to be done.
I know
And-
there's wetlands in there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's right to the wall there, so.
Yeah.
But it's not rife, it's there though,
Right,
So the question is, just think about what kind of permit the commission will require, so we can get that rolling also.
then we'll just get it started.
And then protection by permitting, because we've got the scrutiny going,
Right.
right?
So we will move as fast as we can. And, yeah, you're right, Bert, we don't even need to reschedule. You'll let Karen know what,
Yeah, we need to get it out in the public eye one way or shape or form, because you need to vote to approve it, but you need to see it first, and I agree with that. I would agree, I would not, if I were commissioner, I wouldn't approve it either without getting down there. This is a unique situation, but I promised I'd make the effort, and this is the first step in the process. We're coalescing everything, it's gone from a raw idea to this. The commission has asked for questions, this is a good part of the process. So Karen, we'll be getting back here on the 19th, hopefully with some more concise information, and, we're in a tight situation because the deadlines for permits was today for the 19th. So we may be looking at the first May meeting to get the permit and then the work. But that should jive with any work if the commission allows all things. And that's kind of where we are right now. Okay, then.
So I can go shopping?
yes. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming in, Karen. Great to see you. Thanks, commission, for being kind. Yeah, good job.
Okay, business item B2, Conservation Resource Area Guidance for Building Permit Reviews.
Okay, so most of the commissioners are familiar with wetland and wetland change. and also Oliver, and let's see, other permits. I have a couple of experts here that I've asked to kind of visit with us and talk a little bit about these tools. The building department uses the same, is looking at using the same screening tools that we use in conservation. The reason for that is when they do a building permit, they have to decide, is conservation in or out? And these tools provide very valuable data. Okay, Barrier Beach coastal dune, they can spot it right away. But when you get to the wetlands, it gets a little tricky because you have the town, which is based upon plants, so the wetlands particularly can be larger. I will say this, that I've changed probably 200, 300 flags since I've been here, and that's 6 years or so. So it's not like we're changing it a lot, but there is a difference. And the reason for this conversation is how much should the building department be adding to these resource areas to bring in the conservation, whether or not we're permitting. That way we don't have what we call false negatives, I believe, which is they rule us out because they don't have the adequate tools and everything like that. We want to help them figure that out. I told them I couldn't do it. Craig and I received an email, and I said we'll present it to the commission. I'm not asking for, we're not asking for a wetland delineation line to be approved because only 3 entities can do that. A, the commission, B, the DEP, and C, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Only those 3 can actually approve a wetland delineation. So this is a pre-screening tool, and we're looking for guidance. And to that end, I've got Rick Savant here from Stembeck and Taylor, who's very knowledgeable about riverfront. We have John Zimmer as well, and I believe Greg Morris is as well, who's an engineer and is knowledgeable about coastal bank, riverfront, et cetera. And if they had a chance to interact with the commission, they might be able to shed some light on this. And then I can give quick feedback to Andrew Stewart and his team down in the building department. The commission likes what you're doing. They're suggesting a 125-foot addition or 150 or whatever, but I thought I don't want to be jading it too much because I push it, So let's let the experts come up with a solution for the additions. And we have 2 tricky things on riverfront. We have inland waterways, inland rivers, and we have coastal rivers. And I won't elaborate. I'll let the experts sort of talk it out. I'll flip a coin. I'm thinking a number. Greg, what's the number?
2.
That's it. You're first.
All right, great. Good evening, Commission. Greg Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering. Not really super familiar with how the building department processes building applications when they come in, but I would think certainly if they have a site plan that was put together either by an engineer or a land surveyor, as part of what we do in putting together site plans, we certainly review those with respect to wetland resource areas and make the appropriate filings if necessary. But I imagine they get a lot of applications that don't have a full site plan. Someone's just doing a small addition or replacing a bulkhead or something like that, and that sounds like it's probably the case that you're looking at where they haven't engaged an engineer or a land surveyor. The building department's making a determination on whether they need to file or not. A lot of towns do run it through the Conservation Commission and ask for their feedback. It sounds like Agent Grafton, certainly has a lot on his plate. If he's not able to do that, the building department, they do have the tool, the Mass GIS Mass Mapper, which is free online. I don't know if they're aware of that or not, but if they review that tool, that identifies essentially all of the wetland resource areas in town, and you can look on a site-specific basis. And, if it's something that's questionable, maybe at that point they either reach out to the applicant or they reach out to Bill with a much shorter list of the sites that are more questionable for further evaluation. But the Mass Mapper, Mass GIS website, if the building department isn't up to speed on that website, they certainly should be. Could either get some training internally, or I'd be glad to sit down with them and show them how that website works, because a lot of the information is there.
Yeah, to that end.
I'll pass it off.
Yep, that's great, Greg. We're not actually, what they're doing is they're converting over to use these tools, I believe. They've used them in the past, and what they specifically wanted to know from us was how much should we be adding as a buffer. And so back to riverfront with you and coastal, and that'll come to Rick also. We're basically looking at it's the mean high water based on a 19-year Mennononic cycle. And, that's an instrumentation that just is very rare and unusual. It's not really going to be in everybody's backyard. And so I've watched you do work on, and Jeff Hassett do work on Little's Lane, and Rick do work on South River, and I've had chats with John Zimmer way back in the day about this very topic. So this is something that I'd like to wrestle forward, because inland's easier to spot. You can take the bank, and you can add 200, 250 feet, and you're safe. Maybe with riverfront and coastal, you're a little different area. And so, that's something I'd like to vet out so that the commission knows, and then I can convey their message.
Yeah, I would say if you're talking about coastal along the rivers or anything, I would say a buffer of 100 feet, so extend it out to 300 feet.
You think from the bank or from the mean high water is what the question is there?
From the mean high water.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay,
Bill, this is,
go ahead.
hey Bill, this is John Zimmer, wetland scientist. Just to
Welcome,
kind
John.
of touch base on that, with coastal situations in the coastal rivers, when you're looking on Mass GIS, I mean, a lot of times those are a lot better defined than an inland perennial stream that you'll see. So if you took the outer limit of that coastal resource area, whether it's the South River or North River, you're going to end up with, covering that riverfront area probably and then some. Because the furthest that mean annual high water line is going to be, or that metronomic high tide line will be, is going to be out towards the edge of that existing bank. So sometimes it's a lot clearer to see. I mean, the other option is to do what North River Commission does, and just, like Greg was saying, snap 300 feet from it. That way you're going to be, covering yourselves for sure. Generally, I think riverfront area is less of an issue than vegetated wetlands, especially in Marshfield, because of the bylaw definition. And speaking to Greg's mention of Mass Mapper is a good tool, just as a general overview, but it significantly underestimates the wetlands that are actually out there. And in Marshfield, even more so, because a lot of times that Mass Mapper is based on the hydric soil layers as well. So they're mapping them based on the extensive hydric soils that are mapped, and not necessarily on vegetation. So you're going to significantly underestimate what's actually out there. With respect to kind of guiding applicants with the building department, I think it's important to err on the side of caution. I would rather have them have to, maybe spend a little bit of money up front just to confirm. And typically, like Greg was saying, the engineers will do that. But just to make sure, because the last thing they want is to, have a situation where you sign up on the building permit and then you find out that you're within 100 feet of an isolated wetland or something to that effect.
And that happens, yeah.
You don't want to get into an enforcement situation, so you're better off trying to be as proactive as possible, which would mean having a little wider buffer.
Well, that's duly noted, and I agree with what John's saying. I mean, at the isolated vegetated wetlands, we bumped into that at Edward Street, and it happens. That can't be their responsibility. We're not asking for that. John, you made a beautiful presentation, you too, Greg. But I would say that we're looking for a screening tool that gives comfort to both the building department and to the Concom. So John's making a great point that the Mass Mapper and the wetland and wetland change are good tools, but they're not there because they're not going to find the isolated vegetated wetlands, and they're not given the larger extent of the buffer. So, what John's saying is 100 feet wouldn't be enough, is what I'm hearing. You maybe want 150 or more in order to be careful on that. The isolated vegetated wetlands we're going to have to do something entirely different, which is beyond the scope of this conversation.
Question for either Bill or John or anybody else. Wetland changes and mapper, are we talking about the same thing?
Yeah, so they're different. Very similar. Remember Oliver?
I'm familiar with both of them.
Yeah, they're
I
two-
thought
they're
they were
two-
different, and you've acknowledged that.
Yes.
Wetland changes, when does that update? Because every time we do a permit with a wetland delineation, years ago, I assumed that meant wetland changes mean it went update, but I don't see that happening.
I agree.
Do you know anything about that, John?
Yeah, I mean, the wetland change data layer is actually based on areas that DEP has seen where there's been wetland fill. So if you have a wetland delineation, that's done in a town, it's not going to get pulled into that mass mapper. I mean, they will update them yearly based on the soil information, but the site-specific delineation information, I mean, that's all going to be done at the local level. So like I said, you're going to get the broad brush from the DEP wetlands data layer, but you're not going to get, down to, the kind of information that you'd get on an engineered site plan.
I agree with that, Bert, and I would say that the only way to get to that is to take some of the site plans we have and digitize them and then somehow produce them in a meaningful way. And they'd still be estimates because not everything's surveyed. We don't have a Rick Servant plan that's a 1 = 20 that we can then go work on, or a Greg Morris 1 = 10. We just don't have that. So we would be estimating still, but we'd get a better product. That's still beyond the scope of this conversation. We're still looking for a screening tool to give comfort to the building department and the Conservation Commission. But thanks, John, that's great. That really bodes to having a bigger buffer on the wetland side.
Yeah, I think a broad brush screening tool is going to be real hard to find. It's boots on the ground that in a site visit that ultimately are what you need. And
That's true.
I don't know if the building department, if they were to implement, that part of your building permit application is just a simple letter or a statement from an engineer, from a wetland scientist, maybe that they visited the site and there's no resource areas there, something to that effect. Otherwise, you certainly will miss them regardless of what online screening tool you're using.
Right, and I know that you've digitized a lot of your files, for historic files. It may be something that you keep a database. If you have a spreadsheet with your filings by street or by address, you may be able to add a column, a sortable column, wetlands present, buffer zone, yes, no. And that may give you a little bit of a sense, depending on where the property is, as to whether or not there's a wetland close by, in which case you say, okay, well, we'd highly recommend that the applicant go and take a look or hire a wetland scientist or an engineer to confirm, lack of wetlands or something to that.
Yeah, well,
You can't get out to every single site.
No, that's right. That was probably beyond the immediate scope, but John's point makes sense. We do have that spreadsheet. We could actually tell them where wetlands are, and then that becomes a red light to them, and that's a screening tool. We're not looking for it to be perfection and laser focused down there. We just want to make sure that they have the right tools to be able to say, click, put in conservation. I'm not sure, put in conservation, and we'll just clear it on our end. Because the back end of it is conservation does a deep dive when we need to.
Yeah, I agree with these guys too.
Thank you, Rick.
I don't know a tool that you can, with any comfort level, that will show you exactly what all these resource areas are, especially in respect to the riverfront.
Yeah.
My question on the building permit side, so eventually, you see the building permit
Exactly.
and they lean on you to.
Yeah, no, we do the work. We'll go out and we'll do the deep dive. We got a new guy here, Mike Seeley. He's going to be doing that. I do that. And the question is, do we miss stuff and so on? Yeah, it happens. But so far, it's been isolated vegetative wetlands, and they're looking for a tool that makes sense to make sure that we see most of it. And I think that that's a proactive step, and I applaud it. So that's why I wanted to make the extra effort to make sure the commission knows what's going on, hear from some experts. And I would like to be able to go back and give Andrew some feedback on our email, Craig.
Excuse me, Bill, but I'm not familiar with the new automated building permits, but the old system, every building permit, you had to check off on it, right?
No.
I believe there was a box, conservation.
Yeah, so they basically
what
can
means
skip
no,
us,
you
yeah.
know?
Well, what happens is when you do the review, just imagine you're down in the building department, you got 50 building permits that come in, they're all a bunch of interior, conservation's not involved, that's cool. But then you got these questionable ones, and it's, do you want to add to it? And then our department, which is kind of already, we want to be accurate, okay? We want to make sure we don't miss things. And so we want to make sure that they have the tools so that they click when they need to click. That's what we're trying to do. They have
I
control.
thought you took an overview of everything.
No, like the Pratt Farm, for example, I never got a building permit, there wasn't one. So bottom line was, how would I get one, right? So, long story short, there you go. In the case of Edward, they didn't know about the isolated vegetative wetland. They gave 200 feet, okay? And it wasn't enough, and we missed the isolated vegetative wetland. That happens. You know, these are things that are just anomalies. But what they want to know is they want a little bit better assurance of what we want. So they asked Craig and I, what are we going to do in adding in terms of the riverfront or the wetlands, themselves. So bottom line is, I'm here to kind of share information. We want to protect the building department and the Conservation Commission and make sure everybody's satisfied. I can only suggest to Andrew, yeah, I think they want 125 feet. If he does 100, that's his business, you know?
Mr. Finn?
Yeah, I
has
just
a-
wanted to, I haven't heard this mentioned yet, but you might want to take this into consideration. The zoning overlay of coastal and inland wetlands on the zoning map, the wetlands
Thanks, Rick.
delineations are based on the Plymouth County Soil Survey and reflect water table data near the surface 7 to 9 months of the year. So that may be a tool that they could combine with other tools because the soils generally have not changed. Water table levels may be similar. And so that might be some tool that they can use because it is based on the soil survey and those soils haven't changed in 20 years.
They use their own district and they keep an eye on it. They just cleared a property of, over at Carolyn Circle and on an email I was on, so they do use the tool. But they're looking for an easy screening, so it's sort of like they've chosen wetland and wetland change and mapper. And I'll be frank with you, if I had two tools to use, I'd probably go to those, but to John, Greg, and Rick's point, I would have a buffer on top of that, because we're gonna miss a lot due to the fact that it's based on plants. I mean, Mike and I were out at 459 Highland, and we looked at the Brooke Monroe's line, and it's good. She was conservative, she was upgrading, she knows what we want, and it was solid. I had no complaints with it. But that doesn't happen, maybe if I go and I look at the wetland change, it's way down gradient. And John and, Brad Holmes, they would have flagged probably similar to what Brooke was, which was up gradient of the green line that you see on the wetland change and on the mass mapper. So I'm just thinking about what does the commission want for buffers on the wetland line that's there and it's free service, and on the riverfront. And remember, there's two types, inland and there's coastal. And if I can just go back and give that would be good. That's where I was coming from.
Madam Chairman, again, I heard 300 feet mentioned as the North River Commission does it. That North River Commission 300-foot regulation is based on visual impact of from the river view. So in other
Right,
words,
the aesthetics.
It's from the river to the land. But 300 feet is not a bad idea. It
Yeah.
actually adds 100 feet to the existing 200 feet for riverfront. So 300 feet would be a guideline that, would be, I think, acceptable.
So what, I think that Greg Morris was saying, almost follow the model, use the natural bank, give the 300, which would be way overestimate. But the thing is when they come back to conservation, the engineer or the land surveyor is gonna say, no, it's way down here. This is where the mean high water is based upon elevation. But what we're looking for is a screening tool. So I heard from Greg on the riverfront, and I don't know where you are, but I maybe that would be a super conservative way of dealing with it, and then they would know what they're up against. In other words, they take the bank, give the 300 feet, and now, boom, you've definitely got no issues. You're not gonna miss anything from there, around the riverfront there. And that would only be, well, you'd use that for inland too? Inland?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you. Just some consistency?
It would cover you, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you're looking for a guideline
screening,
to start
Pretty
with,
much cover the
that's
whole
what I would
town.
use.
Yeah, we go about 300 feet from everything.
Well, you got 200 and you had 100, right? So it's a screening tool, and,
That's from the
we're gonna have more
mean
permits to
high
deal with,
water. The mean high water, not the bank. The natural bank is the.
Yeah,
mean
but,
line.
so you're asking,
Oh,
so what you're doing is you're asking the building department to figure out where the mean high water is. I don't know if that's something they should do. I think they might find it easier to go with the bank, give the 300, whether it's inland or coastal, we have no issues. And now those permits come to us, and then we're clearing a bunch of them right away. once we get the machine going, we can clear that, and then we never have a miss on the riverfront. I don't know, it's just a thought.
I mean, I think it makes sense to err on the side of caution
I like that.
At least to start with.
to start with, and, yeah, see how it works,
As
but
you see,
but
I would.
I don't know how
refine it as you
cautious
go.
we need
You
to
may
get.
have to change it.
We don't have Andrew here, so just in his defense, this is his call, okay? So I'm trying to give him an answer, so Craig and I are trying to be positioned. Craig's the chair and I'm the conservation administrator to answer Andrew. We had this, we vetted it out, and this is the feedback we'd suggest. Emphasis on suggest, you know?
Can I speak?
Oh, it's got,
Chair?
Yes?
Fiddler, 77 Brook Road. The bylaw for 305-13.02, which is the coastal wetlands district, refers to all lands in Marshfield covered by water of the average lunar monthly high tides and all other lands which have been identified in the report soil survey from the county, Massachusetts, issued July 1969. I'm sure you are all aware of this. By the Soil Conservation Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture as being tidal marsh and thereby subject to tidal flooding are included in this district. So I'm in support of anything that your board can do to help other boards to understand the process and work together to get that goal of what our bylaws are saying.
Yeah.
I don't think being any more restrictive is necessarily something that I would want to place a judgment on today. I just am looking for all the ideas that all of you are coming up with, and I'm in favor of the conversations, but I just wanted to.
yeah, no, it's great advice. I mean,
None of it should be any more restrictive, it's just.
It's screening. It's all it is.
getting it to the point that Bill takes a look at it.
Yeah, right.
And then he needs to.
My workload goes up, basically. Mike's
Right.
workload goes up. I think that we've had very few recent, what's we call false negatives, I guess, or false positives. We only had a couple, and they were isolated vegetated wetland, and that takes us being boots in the ground, as Greg Morris was saying, to flush that out. So that's going to be very difficult. But if we give a little broader brush, was what somebody was saying earlier, it's not restricted from the regulation. It's more, it's pre-screening and allows us to review more things. That's all. We're reviewing in the review process, and then we catch more, and it's beneficial to everybody.
Exactly.
And I think to bigger picture to Lynn's point, right, and some of the things I heard from the commissioners, we have a current GIS. We would like to bring in more layers on that with whatever form it's going to be in, be it the GPI or Munis or whatever would happen down the road, because that would allow all of this stuff to come together and tie into one. Now you have everything, and click, 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 you've got it figured out. So, then you have the disciplines overlapped, which would be good.
Yeah. So when you would put in a building permit,
Yeah,
that box necessarily, you may be the person filling out the building permit and you are clueless
Right.
as far as whether or
Yeah.
not you're hoping and praying
Right.
that you're in a good position, but you really don't know.
You don't know.
yeah, you want to order the
So-
side of caution, yeah.
So, yeah, and you don't want to spend, the spending thing and all of that is part of the picture, but
It's time too, it's,
I
so,
like the
yeah.
communication.
I think the way it used to work is they send you up to conservation and have them take a look.
We do have that as well. When it's crystal clear, it comes up our way, knock, knock, where's Bill, where's Mike? This is what happens. Still going good.
So thank you, Chair,
Yeah.
for letting me speak.
Oh, yeah, good to have you.
All right, so you and I will go to Andrew.
We'll write an email to that group.
We will, yeah, and give him our feedback from this discussion.
Okay. Which is what? I asked three things on that, which were, just so he has it, how much more from the wetlands, how much from the inland rivers, and how much from the coastal. I've sort of heard 300 feet from the bank on rivers, that's what I sort of heard, and I didn't get a real number on the wetlands, and 100 feet may not be enough. In the case of 459 Highland, the green line is way down gradient. I haven't measured it, and I'm not gonna do it right now, but I'm gonna say it's 135 to 150 feet, so it's off by a bit. Okay, and that's based upon a qualified wetland scientist going in the field, and we know that, and we have that right in front of us. Okay, that's gonna be up, Rick Savant will be presenting a plan to resolve that in the near future.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, we're going to go through that again so that I have it
So
clearly
the
here.
wetlands, do we add 100 feet, which is what Andrew was suggesting, that's a straight buffer?
Yeah.
And then you've just heard from all the experts and me that that's way down gradient. I just gave you a clear case over at 459 that Rick's gonna bring in, it's way down gradient. So I think you should increase it from 100 personally, but I won't make the call for you. On the bank, I think the easiest thing, because there's so many ways of dealing with it, and the true thing is based upon elevation and the mean high water, and it's gotta be site-specific, and that'll come in the form of an engineer plan. But adding 300 feet to the bank everywhere covers you. So in other words, you treat the whole banks everywhere like they're North River Commission centric, you know?
Okay.
And then there'll never be an issue.
Except for the ice.
No,
One more thing.
no.
Which are always going to be,
Oh, Madam Chair, Rick wants to speak. Hey,
Sure.
It's a great rejoicing.
Well, we have all the experts on.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Bill keeps talking about a number for mean high water. I know you're always looking for
Oh,
an
yeah.
elevation for that bank.
You guys all know.
And the metatonic cycle and all that stuff.
Yeah.
My interpretation of it is it's the bank of the river, not the natural bank as we talked about earlier.
Correct, I agree.
But the bank, like say the North River, it's the main channel, the bank, the break and slope. And it does say that in tidal, there's a whole description in here of
Right.
what the mean annual high water is. And then it says in tidal rivers, the mean annual high water is coincident with the mean high water line in 1023, which talks about the metatonic cycle.
Mm-hmm.
How I use this, in tidal rivers, the mean annual high water is coincident with the mean high water line. So the description of the mean high water, the break and slope, field indicators of bankable conditions are used to determine the mean annual high water. What it's saying is that the mean annual high water is coincident with the description in 1023. So the metatonic cycle elevation that NOAA has is the same as the description.
Okay.
Is what that says. I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah, no, I know, over on
It's clear
that,
what it says.
Bayberry
It's
property.
coincident with the two, so.
right.
Because I don't think there's a number that you're ever gonna find that you can apply to different parts of the South River.
I agree.
different parts of
It's
the North River.
site-specific, it's gonna rotate. It's been between 3.8 and 4.2 thereabouts in general, but we're looking for a screening tool and
I
not,
understand.
but I think it's
Andy's
help.
talking about.
I think, yeah, we're looking for the screening tool and then the suggestion from the commission.
I know.
But your point is well taken, and you made that well on that Bayberry property, and I followed your lead.
Well, we always have a back and forth about it. I just thought it would be a chance tonight.
I'm in trouble?
You're never gonna, I don't know, we just need to.
okay.
All right, thank you.
No, that's fine. I didn't mean to cut you off, but so we're going with wetlands, 100,
50?
100 minimum.
You won't have enough. Because I just gave it,
100 well,
I would go
mean,
150.
as you say, this is Andrew Stewart's call, so we can,
Okay,
we
whatever.
can recommend, but bank 300 and isolated vegetated wetlands.
We can't get that
We
one.
can't
Do that one.
capture. That's.
So you're gonna stick with 100 on the wetlands.
I'll go for 150 and
150 would probably save a lot. John and I were talking 135 to 190, so 150 would do a lot.
okay, so we'll say 150.
Yeah. I don't know if I can quote John on that. I'll say that was my recollection. Okay.
Okay.
But 150 will probably, that's a 50% more, that'll help. And 300 on both rivers, and that will be the answer
Okay.
from the bank for the purposes of the screening. That not to be confused with what the expectations are of the conservation permit, which is separate and different.
Separate, yeah.
Okay. I hope Chris Sullivan got all that.
Okay. That's item B2. Item B3.
Okay, we're voting on that, or?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. So I make a motion that we will recommend to Andrew Stewart as a screening tool to put a 150-foot buffer on the wetlands and a 300-foot buffer on the riverbanks.
Right, banks, good, okay, perfect.
May I have a second?
Second.
Art?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then he will do what he needs to do. Very good, this is excellent. Thanks very much to the experts for coming in.
Thank you.
And thanks to the
Thank you,
commission
John, and Greg,
to Madam
and
Chair
Rick.
of CBA.
No problem.
All right, the NEMBA mountain bike race on Carolina Hill. And who do we have to present?
Sure. Yeah, that would be me. That was, I met Ned at one of the.
Jeff, what's your name and what's your address?
Jeff Wilson,
What's your address, sir?
26 Norwell Road.
Norwell?
Norwell Road, yeah.
Gotcha. Carry on, sir.
So I met Ned at a trail care party, and I was talking to them like, he said they were rather new starting out, so they don't have like a lot of tools and stuff. I'm like, well, we could do like a mountain bike race to raise funds, and I told them they should have a, nonprofit organization. I'm also a member of Friends of Wampatuck, and that's what they kind of do. So they take the donations and any multi-use trail. That's where the funds go to. Anything in Wampatuck that they need to do, and the race there, much bigger race, mountain bike race. That race is over $20,000 for that park a year, every year. So it's something to, it was also to bring the youth into it. We have I'm also a coach of a New England youth cycling, which has over 900 kids that actually races, 6 races from here to Rhode Island and New Hampshire. So my daughter, she'll be racing those 6 races. The first one's in Massasoit. So I was trying to get the juniors involved in it. Also to get the Wampatuck Warriors, they're out of Wampatuck, that's the team I coach. Get those kids involved to help clear the trail over there that we're gonna use, and then obviously we'd have to ask the school for permission for parking, and then talk to the police, fire. We do have some ER doctors on our team that work at South Shore Hospital that would volunteer. Everyone that registers, they use bikereg.com and USA Cycling, being a part of them. So everyone that registers is insured for bodily. So every racer is insured for any bodily injury. I think it's like four something out of each registration. And registration would probably be
Do the
around
insurance.
$30, yeah.
So, do we have to do a permit, or?
No, what the land use regulations say that they have to have, permission from the commission ultimately.
Okay.
And it's been my take on it. They come, they present. If the commission likes it, they either give them special conditions like see other departments or whatever it is. And makes a vote, and then it's gonna be living in the minutes. So the minutes will get verified later on. We'll have the vote that you're gonna cast tonight, and that's the permission. So I've tried to do it that way.
So these are existing trails,
These are existing trails.
and they don't need any work
Yeah,
prior
we're
to the
actually
race?
the ones that called in the trail that someone illegally built over there. So we're actually, I'm part of that group that we called it in, because one of the older mountain bikers that's also part of NIMBR and also part of FO, he said, hey, you know about this trail? I'm like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. And he mentioned it to me, and I'm like, there's an existing trail that goes down. But then he says, no, you gotta come check this out. So we went and checked it out. I'm like, someone just built this, and it goes way into the wetland, and then came back out. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So we had made a few phone calls.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. That's what it looks like right there. Sorry, I was slow on
That's
this.
the map. So it's roughly 3.4 miles, and I have a lot of it climbing, so they're not flying through. There are some flowy parts there at the beginning, and that would be the junior course, which is shorter. That cuts across and then goes around, and then they're like the Cat 1 and 2, the adult ones will go on the wider down towards 3A and then make the climb back up versus coming full steam down the hill.
So we have 2 maps. I'll probably be in trouble if I do another one. So Jeff is also a silent volunteer. He doesn't, he's not necessarily affiliated with the Trail Ambassadors, the Pathfinders, but he gets a lot done out there, and we're grateful to you. And you'll see language about that. I heard about you, and I try to echo it into our annual write-up. And I created the Silent Volunteers, and you are one of the major guys.
Oh, yeah, and I spent my own money doing so, too.
Well, we're grateful to you. I think, Commissioner, this is the will of the town right here.
Yeah, those trails were pretty devastating in October. It was like,
I heard you were out there. Ned told me, and I
a
was
lot
like,
of people were trying to go, and no one could go nowhere. Everyone's like, well, isn't the town coming to clear all this?
if you go back
No, it's just
thousands
me.
of years, there are people like you, Jeff, that just do the right thing, and I appreciate you.
I did get surrounded by 4 coyotes at night, and
That's what you gotta not be doing.
no, I got myself out of there. I was fine.
4 coyotes.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 coyotes. I had one like 25 feet
Okay,
in
Jeff.
the tree in the back, and I had like my bike lights, and I could see their eyes. The howl was so loud. The one over here was howling. It
Yeah.
was so loud. It was intense.
Very good. We're gonna get you the Call of the Wild, that's one of my favorite books.
Well, I think we're all good with this,
Yes.
right? And thank you for, you know,
Yeah,
what
thank you
do.
for everything you're doing.
Thank you
It's
for
basically to get the youth
finding that
involved, try to
illegal
get
trail.
these-
That was,
Try to get these young kids off the
Absolutely.
computers too, because it's good to get them out. There's so much, their attitude changes when they're outside and they
Yeah.
go riding and, you know, there's so much cover.
well, I move that we vote to approve
What's
the
that? Oh, yeah,
NEMBA
Bill.
road race.
We were
on-
thinking of moving the date maybe to the fall.
Oh, I didn't put a date here, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a date, so we're just gonna.
We're gonna leave you open on that. Just don't do it like 15 times. Every time you do it, come back, okay? Yeah.
Okay, so I move that we vote to approve the NEMBA road race on the town-owned conservation land with the requirement that the police department, fire department, and select board be notified. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
very good. Jeff, nice job. Ned, nice job. Great teamwork. Thank you so much. All right, stop the share. I did it, Mike, look at that.
Okay. We are now on B4, 32 Old Wharf Way, conservation permitting for a shed inland subject to coastal storm flowage, and is this also with planters? Yes,
Yeah,
and
I
location of planters.
sent this through to everybody, so.
Is there somebody here to discuss
No,
this?
I told him he didn't need to come.
Okay.
So Mr. Hawes did a permit with us, 2889. We got a complaint about a fence going up, and so we went and visited him, and we taught him about permitting here in Massachusetts. And he's been a good steward ever since. So he did his permit, and he's back, and he's got a driveway that's below the floodplain. So technically it's in, but it's separated by a berm. And then he's got some planters, so his lawyer, because of the scrutiny, has been advising him to check in. And so he's put down the planters on a patio that exists, and he's worried about, you know, those little square, you know, legs, because it's additive, it's maybe under a square foot, but it's there. So long story short, he wanted to know, do I need a permit, because I'm in the buffer zone? And it's kind of, I was like, I'm gonna throw it into your de minimis, because he's nervous, you know what I mean? And I wanted to tell him, you don't need that, but I wanted to make sure he's also feeling comfort. So I threw it in, and 2 commissioners voted, you know, in favor of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, those planters, that's no different than having
Yeah.
patio furniture.
Agree.
Are we gonna tell people they have to come in here for permits
gotta
to
stop.
put
It's gotta
table and
stop,
chairs
yeah.
on their
Yeah,
patios?
it's gotta stop.
Not,
Yeah.
Isn't this just a de minimis change to his
Yeah, pretty much,
order of
yeah.
conditions?
Yeah, that's, but,
So he'll catch it in the as-built, and that's it.
yeah, exactly, but, you know,
Yeah.
you do need to, the orders of conditions all say, A, special conditions, do all the work according to A, general information, item 8, or get written permission from the commission. This is how he does it with the de minimis. So to your point, the 2 items are captured. One, I don't think he needs. I don't want the public to think that we're forcing this, because we didn't. We received it, and so what I did is I bundled it with something that was already going forward. And so that he had the comfort, is what I was trying to do.
Well, unless any commissioners have anything to add, I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for the shed construction and planter locations. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, and item B5, regarding conservation restrictions is tabled. Okay,
So, Madam Chair, we had somebody here who's here, and one of, in the past, one of the items hadn't been called out early enough as a continuation item. So we're already in the meeting an hour. I would recommend we read the continuations, because that's why they're on the front end, so people can leave. And if we just go and mention them rapidly without voting on them, then that process doesn't get heard early in the meeting, and then people are hanging around. I have at least one person who's told me that, and I just, out of respect for that individual who is here tonight, I thought we'd read them tonight, if that's okay with you, Madam Chair.
okay, scheduled continuations. We have 5.
Print something while you're doing that.
The first is 1327 Union Street, SC 422727 amended. I vote to continue, I move that we vote, oh, actually, I'm recused on this. Can I continue it?
See why not?
Yeah.
Let's continue that anyway.
I move that we vote to continue this to April 19th, 2022, public meeting, as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is 76 Carolyn Circle, dock system, SE 422950. The applicant's representative requested a continuation to the April 19th, 2022 meeting in writing on 3/9/2022. I move that we vote to continue to 4/19/2022 public meeting as per the request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. 274 Foster Avenue, elevation of a single-family home, SE 422958. The applicant's representative requested a continuation to the May 3rd, 2022 meeting in writing on March 8th. I move that we vote to continue to the May 3rd, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
202 Moraine Street, Sealand Corporation, Red Gold Farm subdivision, SE 422960. The applicant's representative requested a continuation to the April 19th, 2022 meeting in writing on March 30th, 2022. I move that we vote to continue to April 19th, 2022 public meeting as per the request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And lastly, 0 Littles Lane, extension of ramp and float, SE 422966. Bill Grafton advised the applicant's rep that the 12 noon Tuesday, March 8th deadline for the site visit had elapsed. In a letter dated March 9th, the applicant's representative submitted a request for a site visit on a Saturday, noting that the harbor master had been to the site in November. Administrator Grafton advised the ZBA application is required with a pending further additional information request after the site visit is completed. In a letter dated April 19th, the applicant's representative requested a continuation to April 19th, 2022. I move that we vote to continue to April 19th, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And, I'm sorry, one more. 12 Branch Street, raise and rebuild of a single-family home, SE 422951. The applicant has requested in a withdrawal. I move that we vote to withdraw the notice of intent submittal for 12 Branch Street, SE 422951, and direct the Conservation Administrator to prepare and submit a withdrawal letter. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that completes the continuations. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. The public hearings, has that been postponed again?
may I have your name
Yes,
and address?
Roger Rich.
We are going into the public hearings now,
Oh.
except for the ones that I just listed. What are you here for?
The town of Marshfield.
Yeah, the one at
Yes,
the end.
we will be hearing that.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Okay, we are now moving into the public hearings, and before we go any further, I want to introduce our new
Conservation.
conservation agent, Mr.
Correctamundo.
Michael, is it Seal? It's Seal?
It's Sealy,
Sealy.
yes.
Mr. Sealy started yesterday.
Yep.
He will be working with Administrator Grafton.
We're happy, and Liz.
Welcome,
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be aboard.
and we're glad to have you.
Yep,
you.
he's
Me
been
too.
doing a great job right away, and
Excellent.
it's been busy, I can tell you. It's been a blur yesterday and a blur today.
Yeah, well, hopefully with him here, that will
Go
abate
away.
a bit.
Yes,
We'll
we
see.
believe so.
Okay, our first hearing tonight is 39 Abbey Street.
We have Chalky to do the withdrawal.
I did that.
Yes.
Oh, boy, I messed up. Okay, what was the vote on that?
Unanimous?
They were all unanimous.
Well, that one was Chalky, the withdrawal, right?
Who was the second on Trockey? Was that Susan?
Susan, yep.
And it was a withdrawal.
It was a withdrawal.
Perfect, okay. All right, I will put that down, withdrawal vote. Thank Thank you very much. And then you need to file for 39. Pardon me for delaying you.
Okay, this is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. I have it.
Okay, who was the hearing officer?
The hearing officer is
Me, I believe.
Vice Chair O'Donnell. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Jonathan Brida, 39 Abbey Street, Marshfield, Mass., to determine whether the area depicted on the plans referenced below is an area subject to jurisdiction. And the hearing officer, once again, is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Thank you. Bill, confirm taxes and that the legal ad has been run?
Yes.
Okay. Have we got somebody here to present this?
Can you state your name for the
Sir?
record?
Gino Bernardi,
Gino Bernardi, and what's your address, sir?
71 Broad Street.
Okay, just give us a brief summation of your project.
What we're doing is we're building a new deck at the rear of the house, 16 by 14. We'll be using diamond pier footings as to not disrupt the land, minimal disruption.
Okay, thank you. Bill, your comments on this
Yeah, I
one?
saw this house and property. It's neat and tidy. This is an addition. They've used the least intrusive approach. The building commissioner and I were big fans of this. The prior building commissioner and I were big fans of the diamond piers. So I have no further comments. This is ready to go as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I've taken a look at the site. Pretty straightforward. As long as it meets building codes, it looks good to me. Comments from the other commissioners?
I'm here.
I have none.
None? Any from the public, either here or on Zoom? I hear none. I'd like to make a motion to issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a negative determination number 2 with special conditions. And Bill, any special conditions?
Yes,
Other than normal?
Mr. Berardi, ensure best management practices building codes are followed. Before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, okay? It's on you, tag you're it. Seek Conservation Administrator for guidance on conservation permit for work beyond the approved work activities. That's it? Appreciate all your cooperation, by the way.
Have I got a second?
Second.
All right, I heard Art.
All right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
It's unanimous, Bill.
All right, you're cleared. We should be able to get that permit turned around. It's been a bit blurry. Call me tomorrow, and Mike and I will work on permits and try to get this out and get a building permit going for you, okay?
Great.
Just please do call me, okay?
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so One Elm. Bert O'Donnell again. Is it Bert or Susan? Susan, that's you,
Okay,
right?
now we have 1 Elm Street.
That's Susan.
In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, April 5th, to consider the request for determination of applicability for Nicholas and Moira Koulopoulos of 1 Elm Street for tree removal and lawn restoration. And the hearing officer is, again,
Susan, yeah.
Vice Chair.
Actually,
No, it's Susan.
Oh, it's Susan, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a typo on me.
The hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Bill, can we confirm taxes and legal ad fees? They're good, okay. So, I understand, John, are you here to present, John Zimmer?
Yes, I am. Okay, for the record, John Zimmer, South River Environmental. You may remember this property came in front of the commission back last November. We requested a de minimis activity to remove some trees that had fallen over in that horrible October storm. There were about 19 trees that have fallen over in this one property. At the time, we just requested to remove basically the trees that had fallen over. We had left the root systems in place. Many of them had toppled over and the root systems had become exposed. The commission approved the de minimis activity. The work was then completed in December. They needed to bring in some pretty heavy equipment because the trees were large, and it ended up creating a pretty big mess of the yard if you've been out there. So between that and the root balls that were exposed, we had said at the time that we did the de minimis that we'd be back in front of you with an RDA to clean up the rest of the root structures and then restore the lawn to the extent that it was prior to the trees coming down. So what we've done is submitted an RDA to do so. We're requesting to remove the remaining root structures and then reestablish the lawn with some sand fill. If you've been out to the site, you'll notice that there's a pretty good depression as you come actually back from the wetland towards the garage, which has settled over time. So basically to fill that in and then dress it with topsoil and reseed the lawn. The biggest elevation difference would be in that depression where it would be leveled off and then it would taper back down to meet the existing grade towards the wetland boundary. We also are incorporating a series of conservation markers at the limit of the existing lawn or the existing fence, which is out there. And then the Koulopoulos would like the opportunity to go and remove some historic debris that was placed in the 50-foot no disturb buffer basically behind the fence. Prior to them acquiring the property, the previous landowner had dumped all kinds of yard waste and boards and old tree cuttings and things like that. So the Koulopoulos would like to remove that, and we've also submitted a planting plan to hopefully remove some of the invasives that are back there as well. If you've been to the property, basically from the edge of the lawn back has been colonized with invasives. So we'd like to put in some native plants, willow, highbush blueberry, and sweet pepper bush. There's also an existing drainage ditch that runs through the back of the wetland. It was developed by DPW. I'm not sure exactly how long ago, but it's basically they haven't maintained it, and it's all filled in, and colonized with Phragmites. So we're not proposing to go too far back and take care of the Phragmites, but Bill made a very good suggestion to contact mosquito control and see if they'll do some maintenance on the ditch to try to get some better flow back in there and some better function, because it tends to back up and then backs up water into the existing yard. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer it. But we were hoping to get this done as early in the growing season as possible to take advantage of it and get the lawn reestablished before the summer hits, and it's a lot more difficult to get the grass to grow.
Thank you, John. I've been to the site. It is significantly damaged from had quite an event happening, and then the equipment further damaged things. So I don't have any concerns about this. The proposed revegetating with native species will really help, and after you remove the invasives should be good. I have no concerns about this. Bill, you have some additional comments, however.
I do. Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer, recognize me. First, John, the 25-foot setback, I got it that it's lawn and everything like that. I did talk to Mr. Koulopoulos. I got it? Oh, I killed it. I was thinking that 25 would be an area to vegetate for a bunch of reasons. One, he's near that ditch, which creates, a water tidal, like subsurface issue. You already got a lot of water, and it would give a location where it would have a draw for these willows that you're talking about, and a protected area. Second, we need to know what the quantity is of the cubic yardage, because you're in the floodplain. The building commissioner may be interested in this. I can't remember if Phil was on his floodplain permit or not. I'm not trying to make it difficult. It's my duty to kind of share that out. So we don't know how many cubic yards are going in there. That could change the flow patterns, in that area, or displace water in a way that might impact somebody else. We see that all over the place on the Ferry Street projects that have come up. So I don't know if you happen to know that, but those two things would be items of interest. And I think this is an optional planting plan. Therefore, I would not recommend any of the implementation plan, any of the annual monitorings, but I would encourage the homeowner to stay in close contact with John Zimmer by all means necessary, because those plants that you're planting will absorb water and they will get a lot of it out of the system and dry up part of your yard. But there is going to be some truth to adding the new material that's going to cause flood impact on others. So that is something that we need to quantify and figure out as well. And I would say the mitigation for the commission would be at the 25 is what I was thinking. That's my only thoughts. I don't vote.
But if I can address those to some degree. The amount of fill that's going to be brought in, I think, is on the order of 200 to 400 cubic yards total. If you've been to the property, it's kind of a bowl where the existing lawn is now. And water displacement would go laterally back towards the existing stream and the wetland. It would not be pushed over onto adjacent properties. It's flowing in that direction now. Coastal floods that come through are going to, continue to flow in that same pattern as they do now. So I don't anticipate a displacement of floodwaters especially because it's coastal floodplain. It's going to flow in the same manner that it does now.
I would agree, based on the topography, it seems like that would be minimal hazard risk for anybody.
The other thing is I think you're in the inland wetland district over there, so you definitely want to check in with the building commissioner and vet that out, okay?
Do we have any
Yes.
commissioner comments? I'm sorry, were you finished, John? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
All the wisdom done?
Commissioner comments,
Nope.
concerns?
No, I agree with you, Susan.
Okay. Public, anybody from the public in the room or on Zoom that would like to weigh in? Seeing none, I will then make a motion to approve this RDA with a positive determined number 5 for the bylaw and a negative 3 with special conditions that will be outlined on a cover letter that you get if you're approved, that will be prepared by Bill. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who was the second?
I was.
Great.
Greg, okay. It was actually not the cover letter, I blew that too. It's gonna be in the form, so.
I'm sorry?
It's in the form, I made a mistake of that too. What a mess.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank you, John.
Very good, sir, thank you, you got what you wanted, awesome.
All right, next up. A new hearing, I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the code of the town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, to consider the notice of intent filed by Howard and Veronica Wright, 80 Ireland Road, Marshfield, Mass., for the raise and rebuild of a single-family home within the buffer zone to an isolated vegetated wetland. And once again, the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Thank you. Okay, I can confirm that the taxes, the butters, and filing legal fees have been paid. Do we have someone here? Is Austin Chartier here? Do I see?
All right, he told me he may have a small
Oh,
conflict.
he said he might be
Yes,
late.
correct. And I will contact him if you want, or we could go to the DPW.
We could go to, let's go to the DPW.
Okay. I'll check in with him about his ETA.
Okay.
Going to shift our agenda order here to accommodate an applicant. And we will go to
Region 3.
Town of Marshfield, 432 Ocean Street to 11 Wrexham Road, Region 3 Coastal Infrastructure Repairs. And this is a new hearing, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
It is not.
Did I put that down as new?
Well, you did, but here it says new, so.
Nope, I didn't mean to.
Is it continued?
It's, no, it's not continued. It's continued and being heard tonight. That's what it is.
Excuse me, Craig. I think Austin is on the call now.
Oh,
Should we, this is
That's Bert's, right?
That's Bert's.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how you want to play it now.
Yeah,
There he is, he's
Austin
here.
Chartier is here, so
All right,
probably.
so-
He's here.
yeah.
So how do you want to handle this?
So, Paul, I would like to have you stand down if you don't mind too much. We just had Austin Chartier. I know you're ready to go. This should be a small...
Is Austin Chartier ready to go?
Yeah, I'm looking at him right there. Austin, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm here and ready. Thank you for.
Okay.
Jeremy, can you stand down then, you guys, for a sec?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
No worries.
you're set, Madam Chair.
Okay, Austin, are you ready to present? You can begin, present your project.
Yeah, I'm ready to present. I'm ready to go.
Okay, go right ahead.
Would you like me to share my screen?
Sure, give me a
That's
second
always-
here.
that's
I haven't
great.
done that in a while, so bear with it. How do we do that with this view? I want to see. All right, so I gotta go here. Make a co-host.
Unless you have it there. I mean,
Fire, I don't. I'm gonna give it to you. All right, so you should be getting a ping right now. How about that? I hope. Yeah? You get invited?
yep. Yeah, I got it here.
Thank God.
So, how you doing? I'm Austin Chartier with McKenzie Engineering Group. We filed the notice of intent under the local regulation only for activity in a buffer zone. The applicant, Howard Wright, I believe is on the line as well. But essentially here, this is a raise and rebuild an existing single-family home at 80 Ireland Road. Brad Holmes of Environmental
Okay, what happened there?
It's an isolated vegetated.
Austin,
Do you know that you're cutting out?
Austin, you're cutting out a lot. Can you try to figure that out? There might be
Yeah.
too much mass there or something. I'm not sure what's going on.
Sorry about that.
So you got the CAD version. Just put a PDF up.
This is the screen you look. You see the house here.
Austin, it's a little disruptive, amigo. Can you just go with a PDF or something?
Yeah.
Do we all have? We could
Let
use
me,
the maps if
We've
we
got
have to.
our own
That's,
map.
Yeah, I mean, I have it.
This
I think
continues.
we all have the plan here.
Disengage on that, Austin, and they're gonna look at the hard copies.
Yeah,
We
we have our
got you.
maps, so-
I will attempt to
Okay.
share screen. We'll see if that works.
Yeah, I can just continue kind of going through.
Yeah, why don't you-
So basically, it's an existing single-family home at 80 Ireland Road. The applicant proposes to basically remove it and rebuild, removing the foundation 4.2 feet away from the wetlands. Under the local regulations, it says basically anything built within a buffer zone cannot be built any closer. The applicant's aware of that and is trying to respect that as best they can. It is a tightly constricted lot with the wetlands in the rear here. Basically, last year they went to Board of Health. This kind of came about as they had a Title V septic issue, so they did a repair. We had to use some AI technology out here in order to just basically minimize the setbacks. So as part of that repair, this kind of started this project. So the applicant's keeping the house as far away from the wetland as they can while still meeting, their desires. They're proposing the majority of the new house outside of the 100-foot wetland buffer, basically to the maximum extent. And they've been really, attentive to respecting the wetlands and, the local regulations. So I can kind of leave it at that. I've had some back and forth with Bill about the wetlands, the jurisdictional area out here. It's a portion of the wetland goes off site. So, we flagged what was on our property. It's an isolated wetland. The wetland itself is rather degraded. It has, there's some fill in there. There's invasive species. So we essentially just flagged the limit. Brad Holmes could speak to that a little bit. We're proposing the Marshfield conservation posts. Essentially, it's on the limit of the existing yard that's cleared, but maybe giving a few feet back to let it grow in there. And they're proposing some silt sock along that area to, eliminate any sedimentation into the resource area. They're removing an existing gravel driveway and an existing paved driveway. There's kind of two separate parking areas out here, and they're proposing basically a shelled driveway to go with the beachy theme. Kind of, it's located in the coastal zoning district. So that's the extent in terms of just a brief overview.
Bill, do you have any further questions
Yeah,
or comments?
I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on this. I saw an area with ponded water, and the Conservation Commission has Chapter 505, and potential vernal pools as well as certified vernal pools are protected. And I brought this to the attention of Austin, and he told me what I hear a lot is that a lot of the vendors contractors are busy. They can't get out there, they can't do the flagging, et cetera. The construction guys have the same problems, materials aren't getting delivered. It's all COVID and everything like that. We do have Brad here tonight, though, I noticed that. And I thought that the vernal pool should be flagged. It may not be functioning right now, but at some point in time it might be.
We don't know, though. We have no confirmation that it's actually vernal.
We haven't done that in the past, so what we have done is accepted it, like on the case of 202 Moraine Street, Sealand actually accepted it. We called it as potential vernal pool. The commission's job is to try to protect the resource areas and not necessarily find in behalf that the clear and convincing information by giving it away. So in other words, it's up to the applicant to prove it's not for the commission not to say it is.
Well, my concern is that how would that affect the project? There's no further, they can't go any further because of the way the septic is sited, so
Well, we
with
could-
different setbacks, we really, that would be they couldn't build their house if we were to hold them to 100.
You wouldn't do that. You just had a project over off of Careswell, or,
I'm just concerned about this one, though. I mean, what do we want to do? You just want
We
that
wanna-
marked so that we
It's a-
can
it's a
monitor?
you
it?
want a complete delineation. You
What's
want a
that?
complete delineation is what you want, because when you finish the story, those conservation markers should have no downgrading activity whatsoever, and you've got green waste dumping going on right now. So I think it is got a value personally. If I was a voting commissioner, I'd be probably saying certify it, and making them do that, but that's not the plan for me here.
That's a
I'm just
3-year
simply sa-
process.
Yeah, it's a heck of a process. So just by accepting it as a potential vernal pool, getting them to flag it or not, whatever you want, but you do need it flagged in order for it to show up on a plan and then have protection. It is heavily altered. They are dumping back in there. You're going to get conservation markers. Down gradient, just let it stay natural. Unfortunately, that natural over there is going to be Japanese knotweed because that's what's going on over there. So unless they treat it, they're getting that. And then you do also have a boat trailer and a boat over by Wetland Flag 12. I did bushwhack through there very heavily on behalf of the commission to get you all this information.
So, Bill, I have a question, though. Are you happy with the placement of these conservation markers are at the 25?
Yeah, I'm
the
doing
one
those,
that-
yeah.
oh, so we wouldn't change anything that,
No, but you would never have protection for the vernal pool, which goes in all directions.
If it's a
And we have
vernal
had
pool.
prob-
if it's a vernal pool.
If it's a potential vernal pool, yes, correct. You won't know until you get it delineated and actually get it certified or not. Potential vernal pools are in there for a reason, and across the state, they're protected.
But this was, this wetland was delineated as an isolated vegetative wetland.
Inside of it is a vernal pool, no different than Holly Road, which we all looked at as well, had a isolated vegetated wetland with a potential vernal pool inside of it, and the applicant provided us the 100-foot buffer, and that created some protection over there because there was a number of undeveloped properties which gave the 100-foot setback for the vernal pool habitat. In this case, you won't get that. The 25-foot setback is the critical mass based upon the conservation markers, but having the potential vernal pool back in there enhances it, and then when they start disrupting, which they will, inside the 25, we'll have all that to throw and educate them about. Right now, it's just gonna be looking like, okay, I got Japanese knotweed, there's a wetland, it's isolated, da-da-da. You actually have a second resource area in there. And I believe it's in part of the inland wetland district as well. So I think this whole area's been massively altered, and I'd try to get that one back if the commission has got this opportunity in front of them. That's just all I have to say on that.
Would you mark it? Is
Yeah,
that
that-
Well, I asked for it, I typically get that marked, and then what they do is they flag it with, so that we know where it is. And it
So
affects.
is it a different, I'm not familiar with how they do it.
Yeah,
Maybe
they have
flag
blue
it so that
flags,
they
yeah.
can
So,
see it?
yeah,
What-
the pool depresses in,
Yeah,
and
I
it
can
holds
see that.
water, and then basically it's around the bank. It's kind of what we were talking about, the bank and so on, and they typically flag around that area. And then above that is a bordering vegetated, or an isolated vegetated wetland in this case. And that provides you with secondary resource area. So you have a potential vernal pool resource area that's not flagged, it looks like it's out there. And then you have the isolated vegetated wetland, which I had no problem with the flags. I have no problems with conservation markers. My suggestions are three things. One, remove the trailer and the boat. Clean the green waste, which they've been definitely dumping in there and filling. That area is completely altered. And then flag the potential vernal pool and get it on an updated plan, because the opposite side, there's also something similar, and we recently, Eric and I were out on that property as well, and we didn't know about this potential vernal pool back then because the Japanese knotweed was in green state, and it was a jungle. We couldn't figure it out. So now we know there's a potential vernal pool because we're in by, winter.
that doesn't
Real
sound.
quick, I just saw Brad Holmes hopped on, who flagged the wetland. I think he could probably speak to that potential vernal as well. And I just want to quickly note that, either, I guess at the end of the day, I understand if he thinks that it could be a vernal pool, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still just a buffer zone project. We're not altering any of the wetland. So it'd still be a buffer zone project. It doesn't change the filing. It just changes the resource area moving forward as a potential vernal pool.
Correct. And you have only got one chance to do this.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Is Brad coming on? Did you want to?
I can help out
Hi, Brad.
quickly on this. The potential vernal pool that I think Bill is referring to is located more in the eastern portion
Right.
of the property. As you kind of get closer to the
Right about
project area, the wetland turns into more of a Japanese knotweed wetland, merging towards Ireland Street. We can put some flags to identify the potential vernal pool inside the wetland. That's not a problem. It doesn't change the project in the sense that
I agree.
I think it's it's just identification of an interior resource to the vegetated wetland, and that can certainly be done. And I think the plan here is a good plan to keep outside the 25-foot, which probably hasn't been done in the past. So
Right.
there's actually more protection in this proposed development than is existing.
I agree.
That sounds good. Any other commissioner comments on that?
Sounds good.
Just, I'm having trouble seeing the elevations here. Is it?
I'll zoom in, Bert. Let me give
It's all staying, is it all staying flat? I think it's a pretty flat lot right now, isn't it?
Yes, it is a flat lot. It slopes towards the wetlands, but no, there's no proposed changes to the grades except very minimally within the driveway, and that's really just some basic. It's not necessarily filling or anything like that. So the existing grades are proposed to be kept.
And is the septic repair, has that already been completed?
Yep, that is completed and has been installed and closed out with the town.
Okay, because there's tremendous flooding problems there on Allerton Road, so
Yep.
so any change in the elevations would be a problem.
Yeah, it looks like this, may have been, historically, this whole road may have been fill brought in at one point or another. The south of Ireland Road, it drops off about 10 feet into the abutting property, So I think, there was a lot of fill brought in here,
Yeah, it's
many years ago.
absolutely. I used to live right in that area.
So, Bert, you were asking about the elevations. You got 19.3 right here, and down here you got, looks like 23.5. So there's a 4-foot change across, I can't figure it out, it's about 75 feet, something like that.
Okay, but it's,
I thought it was,
that property is about at the low point of the whole area.
yeah, that and the road.
It is one other thing. I will note, there's a catch basin in Allerton Road at elevation 19. It's actually below some of the wetland we flagged. How well it works, I can't speak to that, but
Here it
there
is
is
right here.
basically a hydraulic connection lower than that wetland within Allerton Road.
Austin, I think I got it here. See me hovering here?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so it's right over here at 19.04. So it is lower than that point I called out.
So if it all stays the same, it's the best they can do.
No, I agree the project's the best it can do, but long-term, having that vernal pool would be probably, this is the one shot you have at it.
And we'll get on the east side.
Yeah, you just tell them you want a revised
Right.
plan by Friday at
Right.
12 noon, and they'll deliver.
So are we satisfied with, do we need any further conservation markers than the 3 that are proposed at the 25?
No, those are
We don't
fine,
need
yeah.
anything
No.
further on the other, okay, all right. So if you can provide do the flagging by, what was the date you wanted for this Friday?
Brad, can you get out there, and Austin, can you get back a surveyed plan showing the vernal pool and the 100-foot vernal pool habitat by 12 noon Friday? That's what we're looking for. We'd like to turn your permit around rapidly. I've got Mike here, and we're going to become a permitting machine again. Can you do that? Or do you need more time?
I'll try my best. It's raining the next couple of days, and I melt in the rain. I'm not a tough guy like
Brad, you delicate flower, yeah. All right, so why don't we give them 2 Fridays, but that's an awful lot of time, so. Brad, 2 Fridays?
That definitely can be done.
Austin, 2 Fridays?
Yep, if Brad can get out there, we can get out there.
Sounds like a plan. So you're looking at, what's this Friday? I lost my mind. What is it, the 8th? 15th? It's on the 15th, okay? We have 21 days that are clicking off, so we're going to give you an extra week, okay? Because of Brad's COVID crush and everything, and the rain.
Rain.
Rain? Okay, gotcha.
So we need to have a revised plan by the 21st to you guys?
No, the 15th, which is a Friday,
15th, okay, sorry.
12 noon.
Hmm.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so people satisfied? Any other questions or comments? Any comments from the public? Anybody on the Zoom call or in the room? Okay, well, seeing none, what I would like to do is make a motion to approve the plan with special conditions that you will,
Yep, I'll do it quick.
Okay.
All right, so Austin, these are standard conditions. Your homeowner will record the orders, post a DEP sign, obtain all subsequent permits, ensure the erosion control is in place, follow all applicable appeal periods. You will post 3 conservation markers in advance of the project, okay?
Yep.
Remove the green waste from the vicinity of the potential vernal pool and the boat and trailer from the vicinity of wetland flag number 12. Coordinate a pre-construction site meeting with the conservation administrator or agent. During construction, ensure best management practices are followed. Additional ground surfaces not shown on the plan noted in A, special section A, general information, item 8, whether pervious or impervious shall require Conservation Commission review. Disturbed or soils have to be revegetated as soon as possible after the project is complete. At conclusion, remove the erosion control, and any additional ground surfacing that you change needs to be reviewed by the commission. This condition remains in perpetuity. That's why we have the impervious table.
okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for cooperating, gentlemen, and
Thank
Susan,
you.
brilliant job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, members of the commission.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, and we are now on to the town of Marshfield. Region 3 Coastal Infrastructure Repairs, and Vice Chair O'Donnell is the hearing officer.
Okay, and Bill, well, no taxes because
Correct.
it's public.
Butters.
Abutters and
Yeah.
DEP number.
Correct, we got the DEP number, and the butters around Damon's Point, which is part of this, were notified. That was part of the reason for the continuations, and then the commission is, they're here now.
Okay, Rod, are you gonna present this?
Can you hear me? Good evening.
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, Jim.
Okay, I will have Jeremy from Foth Engineering Infrastructure and Environmental LLC, an engineering firm that we hired, do the presentation. Jeremy, you're on.
Thanks, Rod. Bill, it says I'm trying to share my screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, bear with it, okay? I learn as I go. Fire. Okay, you guys are more sophisticated than me in this, and wiser too, and smarter.
Oh, yep, I got it.
I got it right. All right.
To share. Okay, you guys should see the PDF.
This is town bylaw only. Oh, shit. Yeah, this one. She's good.
Okay. Everyone's got this? Everyone's got the PDF here?
We see it.
Yeah, cool. Okay. All right, everybody, good evening. My name is Jeremy Packard. I'm from Fulton.
All right, so
On behalf.
Jeremy, let me tell you something. We've been having some struggles with these plans, so if it keeps flickering like it did, then we're gonna have to go to me controlling it. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So keep going.
Okay. Yeah, I won't move anything on the screen. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Then.
So again, Jeremy Packard, Fulton Infrastructure and Environment. I'm here on behalf of the town of Marshfield tonight, engineer. Discuss another regional permitting effort for waterfront coastal infrastructure. The record too.
Okay. Jeremy, we should probably just discontinue it, okay?
So can you put the plans up there, Bill?
I can, yeah, bear with it, okay, Jeremy? I'm not as good as you are at this. It's gonna take seconds, and then it's gonna be good, I hope. Right? You are loving this. You're loving the entertainment, aren't you?
We believe in you.
Doesn't get any richer than this, watching the conservation administrators suffer. All right. It's Ocean Street, right? Okay. Plans. Jeremy, the 315 plan, is that right? March 15?
March 15th revised.
Yeah. Yeah? Okay.
315, yes, correct.
Okay, so now I've got that done. Let's see if I can figure out how to share again. Oh, please let me share. Okay. Share. Okay. I got it. I don't know how, but I got it. All right, what page, Jeremy? Just keep me moving.
I was starting off just on page 3. That was just the beginning of the site plans.
Correct. Let me get to page 3. Let's see how I jump through. I usually have, oh, there I go. I did it. You're on page 3, good?
Perfect. Okay. All right. So this is the third time we're coming before the commission here for a regional permit. Those of you who might recall the first two, Region 1, Region 2. The intent of these authorizations is to provide kind of blanket authorizations for maintenance of existing licensed infrastructure for the town to be able to get out and efficiently perform repair and maintenance activities to the existing authorized infrastructure efficiently, to really kind of every small activity they have to do in the area and kind of give a blanket authorization for the whole region. So Region 3, they were talking about Samoset Ave, about 7,500 feet to Wrexham Road.
Okay, what's up?
Shoreline, and then also includes.
All right, this isn't working, Bill.
I know, I think it's something else.
Are we losing it because we've all got the drawings?
Right, but I'm not sure. He doesn't have, this is something different, so.
It's new.
Nothing happening.
This is solid, okay, so that's good.
So it's not an issue with,
He's the co-hosting thing.
yeah, but it's not an issue with the Zoom on this side.
Great. It's Seems stabilized. Try it out now, Jeremy.
Jeremy, let's try it again.
Yeah.
Okay, was it my voice that wasn't coming through, or is it?
I just, oh, God.
Just keep going.
Yeah. Let me get some IT support.
To the south, northerly to Wrexham Road, approximately 7,500 feet along the coast. And this filing also includes the revetment at Damon's Point. The goal, like I said before, the goal is to allow engineering and DPW to quickly and efficiently respond to damage and maintenance needs on the extensive existing coastal infrastructure, primarily consisting of concrete. As to familiar with and his team, and this is really just about authorizing that typical work that they do out there. Previous filings for Region 1 and 2.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Just do the narrative and
Yeah,
get this.
Jeremy, Bill, let's turn off the screen share and see if we can get through the narrative.
Right, that's a great place. So Jeremy, talk, and we won't worry about the plans. I think they're too big, and they're causing problems, and I can't get IT support right now.
Okay, I can talk to it. So previous regional filings for Region 1 and 2, both of those included 3 categories of work. The first category being work that was previously performed under emergency certificate. And so that was work that was already performed in the past that Rod had coordinated with Bill, and we were back to basically request certificate of compliance for that work previously completed. Second category was work that was specifically identified to be performed by the DPW, work that was specific work activities that the DPW intended to execute in the near future. And then the third was just a blanket for potential future maintenance activities that are likely to be required in the project area in the future, but are not currently identified as necessary. So those are the 3 categories that we had applied to or discussed and authorized previously on Region 1 and 2. Region 3 is a little different in the sense that we don't have specific planned work that we're requesting authorization for. So for Region 3, we really just have 2 categories of work. We have work that was previously performed under maintenance, under emergency certificate, and potential future maintenance activities, including seawall cap repairs, revetment repairs, temporary shoring, concrete crack and spar repairs, repairs to staircases, maintenance work that we're requesting authorization for that is likely to be required in the future. So those are the 2 categories we're talking about tonight. So the first category being the work that had already been completed previously. There are 4 emergency certificates in the project area. 3 of those certificates are for revetment repairs. It was various amounts of armor stone that was placed there after coastal storms. Most of them were those big 2018 storms, Sandy, Juno. No, not Sandy. Sandy was 2016. Juno Riley, there was one other one there. But it was armor stone that was placed after damage to the revetment had occurred following those coastal storms, and Rod had applied for the emergency certificates. It was granted that, and they've gone out and performed that work, and that work's been in place since. So those are 3 of the emergency certificates. The last one is they raised a manhole and placed backfill after some damage, some storm damage occurred right at the end of Wrexham Road, at the northern end of the project area. So those are the four emergency certificates that we're requesting certificates of compliance for as part of this filing here. 3 revetments, 1 manhole and backfill, sand backfill. And then again, the second request is for potential future repairs. We have 3 pages of details, of construction details that are shown on the plans. that I'd love to go through, but you can't see them. I know you guys all have hard copies too. So if you look at the last 3 pages of the plan set, you can see the construction details that we've shown on there, and those are really the results of multiple meetings with us and engineering, DPW, brainstorming the different kinds of activities and work they've done out there in the past, and really trying to come up with a comprehensive collection of work that they know they will likely need to perform in the future.
I'm gonna try it again, Jeremy. It's just not working. I'm gonna try to get to that sheet, just to give you a taste of it. It's not working. We're gonna have to clear this up with IT later. Jeremy, you've got a great detailed sheet. There's like 8 sheets on there, and like you did on the other regionals, he's provided all the construction details. There's items 1 through 15, and we just can't show it right now because we have a throughput problem. But it's quite talented, it's quite good, and it gives a menu of options which the commissioners can see and the public can't, unfortunately.
And we really try to account for both permanent work repairs and the temporary considerations that are necessary to sometimes to install those repairs, right? So everything from shoring, cofferdams, temporary berms that might be necessary to protect excavations, road plates, steel road plates kind of sandwiched on either side of the seawall and backfilled with armor stone. That's something that could be used very quickly to respond to storm damage and kind of shore that up and make sure it's at least temporarily safe enough to kind of let the storm pass and then evaluate for some additional work that may be required. So we've really tried to, like I said, brainstorm and come up with a comprehensive list of any kind of work that might be necessary in the project area. The idea is that when one of these repairs is needed, when these construction details is needed, it's already been authorized through this order of conditions that we're requesting tonight. Rod's able to basically take that sheet and go work with Bill specifically about the work he's looking to do, show that it's authorized and it's shown on the plans, and allow them to quickly mobilize and address the problem. So I kind of just alluded to this, but each maintenance activity, each work item will be handled on a case-by-case basis. We're not asking for kind of carte blanche on the entire region and to let the town just go ahead and end communication with the Conservation Commission tonight. That's not the intent here. We do, and we have previously intend to coordinate with the Conservation Commission on each individual activity, as far as what the work plan is, what the necessity is, excuse me, any kind of property access considerations that might be necessary. We have two methods of property access identified currently. There are existing maintenance easements on the land side of the seawall. They're shown in plans prepared by Stenbeck and Taylor, and orders of taking recorded at the Registry of Deeds. They were prepared between 2015 and 2017. It's not the entirety of the project area, but it is a pretty large chunk of it. And those plans were submitted as supplemental information in a memorandum I sent to the commission last week, I believe last week or the week before. So there are existing maintenance easements in place on some of the properties. So those will be utilized for access to the project area. And then for anywhere that doesn't have those easements in place, the town will coordinate right of entry agreements with the affected landowners on a case-by-case basis. And that's pretty typical to kind of standard protocol, how these guys work with the public and the landowners on any other project in town, really. It always ends up being kind of an open dialogue, and there's negotiations and there's requests and there's back and forth, and so that will all take place each and every time between the landowners, engineering department, and the Conservation Commission, just to make sure everybody's in agreement and able to perform the work under this order of conditions. So finally, I think it's important to note that there may be additional, depending on the work proposed at any given time. Again, that case by case basis that I've been talking about. There may be additional filings required either with other agencies, Army Corps, DEP, MEPA, may all be necessary to be filed and coordinated with, notified, and even work that the town is not, work outside of the maintenance activities that the town is looking to undertake at the time may require additional conservation filings even. So this authorization is intended for municipal maintenance activities. So any type of work that would be above and beyond, to say like a homeowner would request or in a butter that the town isn't looking to take on themselves, we would see that as reason for an additional conservation filing. Its own order conditions. This is strictly authorization for municipal infrastructure maintenance. And so that's one of the reasons, because the proposed maintenance activities are not currently identified, because they're going to be kind of handled as they arise based on storm damage and need and necessity. That's why we don't have other filings ongoing right now. We're not filing for water quality certs with DEP. We're not filing ENFs with MEPA. And none of those other filings and authorizations we're not seeking those out right now, just because the work is not identified. So the need for those additional filings or lack thereof will be kind of discussed and identified and coordinated on a case-by-case basis as time goes on.
Jeremy, just real quick, he's talking about the concept of obtainable permits, which is vital to any NOI. And so they can't really get those other permits until they have a need. This is to prepare the way. And so by definition right now, those are not obtainable permits because they're not seeking the specific work. They're preparing the commission so it knows and it has a permit. And then it gives a menu of options to the town engineer to work with conservation and even the building department. I think the idea that they brought in with these easements and right-of-ways makes this the most complete regional permit that we have to date. And Region 1 and Region 2 can benefit from possible requests for amended order of conditions to draw off where we are here at Region 3. I don't think too many towns have this well of a structured seawall permitting. I think they're all doing still a lot of catch and catch can. We are about to go state-of-the-art with this permit.
Bill, may I ask you a question?
Well, it works like this, and you can, when the time is right, and you would ask the chair, and Jeremy still got the floor, and I interrupted him.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Nope, I appreciate that. I'm done.
You're done? So those were your comments, Bill?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, DEP says Chapter 91 and 401 may be required, so to add to Jeremy's point, when the time is right, they may be required. Even DEP recognizes that now is not the time necessarily, so that's how they do it.
So, if I understand it correctly, this is all like-for-like repairs of existing systems, and you have all these details made up to demonstrate how a particular repair might be made. If anything gets changed from the existing conditions, it will be a separate permit.
Well, they have two avenues. That's one avenue. Bert's right. So if you had a large section, like 2819 is inside of Region 2, I think that's where Bert's going. That's a massive project that we all know about in front of the World War II tower, and that has its own separate NOI, but it's inside of Region 2, which is also permitted. So that's what Bert wants to know. And the other option is they do have the option for the de minimis activity and the request for minute order conditions for minor things, such as we did the stair repair, and they had a 25-foot section over by Ocean Street, which was allowed as a de minimis for the project in that case. But they always come back because the permit requires them to check in. If it's big enough, like 2819, then they'll do a separate permit.
Yeah, I think you said it pretty well there, but yes, to The point of this is for maintenance of existing licensed infrastructure. So replacement in kind, as you had mentioned there, and that kind of threshold where it turns into a bigger project that might require its own filing, its own notice of intent. Bill would be able to make that call when he was notified by Rod before they actually went out and did it.
Well,
Maintenance
to be more
activities
clear,
on a case by case.
I would be the recipient of the information. I'd probably check in with the commission's members to find out, because this is a broad scope. Not because I can't do it, it's just I don't have the authority, so I would check in with the commission. But you would come to me.
Bill, if I may, I just want to chime in here, just to clarify what we have ongoing for a project in this region, and that is the Ocean Bluff area, let's say from Foster Ave to the beginning of the Region 3 to the south, Samoset, whatever, from that point on. We are in the process of studying, kind of rebuilding the revetment in that area. It's a study, and we also have a grant to design improvements to that revetment. So that's ongoing. That'll all go through a whole new permitting process. We will be filing with you, going through MEPA, water quality, Army Corps, you know, the whole works, Chapter 91. So that's an example of a project that, you know, doesn't apply to this regional permit until such time we build it, and then maybe we would add it in somehow as for maintenance purposes, minor maintenance.
So, yeah, just to be clear, so requests for amendments are minor. In the case of a seawall project that's 5 miles long, the imagination could get going. But again, he's doing separate permits on Region 2 already, so they get the logic. They can go straight NOIs, brand new. They can request for amended order of conditions, or they can seek out a de minimis activity, which they have done all three. So I think they cooperated very well with us. Chair Hannafin and I are looking so forward to meeting with you and Charlie to discuss Region 2 and clean up that whole easement thing and right-of-way thing, now that we have a model, thanks to FOTH. Much obliged to you guys.
Other commissioners have any comments?
None.
None? I'd like to open it up to the public. Sir, you wanted to make a comment?
Name and address, please.
Roger Rich. Summer Place is 50 Foster Avenue, and I live in the next town, Duxbury, 992 Tremont Street. And my compliments to the Conservation Commission and the other groups that have been involved in the construction of seawalls. I know that that's been a big project, and from Brook Street up to about 14th Road, that's been a major accomplishment. I know now you're working down at Brant Rock, and that's also going to be, I'm sure, a major accomplishment. We've owned this house, 50 Foster Avenue.
Now, is that seawall or revetment?
Seawall. Seawall, however, revetment is it's both. The revetment comes up against the seawall, but it's fallen down, so it needs to be replaced. The seawall was put in, I believe, in 1994, so we're going on 28 years, and we're talking about maintenance, which is, I suppose, not a great subject. There are a couple of cracks, minor cracks. They're almost like frost heaves, but when the waves on a northeast storm with the winds at 90 miles an hour hitting that wall, small cracks become larger pretty rapidly. We have been down at this place for a couple hundred years. Not to say that it was interrupted in, what was it, April 12th, 1941, when we lost 600 homes along there. We rebuilt almost identical in 1950. And I'm 79 and I've been there my whole life as a summer place, coming from Connecticut and now living in Duxbury. All I can say in terms of the agenda tonight is to define the areas that I think need to be improved. And I think that the seawall needs
Could I
to...
interrupt you for 1
Sure,
minute?
please.
Rod, 50 Foster, is that within the area for the planned revetment work, or is that within this area for maintenance now?
I'd have to check that. Let me see if I can find out 50.
Just to
Where
clarify
about,
for you,
I
sir.
don't know what to describe it. Where are you in relation to Shepherd's Ave?
I don't know Shepherd's.
If you're looking at the screen, I don't know if this is gonna work or be blinky, but I have
Look
it
for-
up right now.
look for
We're showing
Brook Street.
in Boston.
Okay, so,
It would be south of Brook Street, about 5 or 6 houses.
okay, all right, I see where you are on the screen right now.
Yeah.
So, yes, we will be, what's being proposed right now is a ramp will be constructed, okay, I don't know if you can hear me, but a ramp
Sure.
well, it's proposed to be constructed to access, the revetment. Right now,
That would be Brook Street.
and so there will be some work with the revetment in front of your house, most likely, when and if we move forward with this Ocean Bluff project. Okay.
What do you mean, when and
At this
if?
time, I have seen photographs. We've flown the area with drones with regard to the revetment, the condition of the revetment. I see that the toe of the seawall revetment has scattered and likely would need some work, maintenance work. I haven't seen any major cracks along the seawall, but I haven't been out there in a while, so we can go and look at that as well. In comparison to what we have on other seawalls, that's in good shape compared to, let's say, down in the Brent Rock and the High Road, that's in poor condition. So from a priority standpoint, for work to be done, this is probably lower on the list. But I understand that if you can maintain your seawalls, when there's minor cracks, you can avoid the larger cracks. But there's only so much you can do with cracks, short of really, getting into and maybe Jeremy can comment on that. We can fill cracks with Seeker products and products that
pressure injection and that kind of thing. And,
which
but you end up chasing your tail a bit.
Yeah, which help, but are not very efficient. So the point is that we will be looking in that area because that's going to be our area that we propose to have a kind of a ramp. So there will be reconstruction of revetment in that particular area. Our idea for the Ocean Bluff areas, because we don't access that, is to build a shelf above the high tide line along the length of the revetment from about Foster Ave all the way down to Massasoit. So we can access and make repairs with most likely a crane, and that crane can stay there and won't have to move, with the tides, because that's one of the problems. Is we just it's just infeasible, and conventional excavating equipment can't reach the whole slope. So we're proposing to build a bench in there, and I think the residents in the area are kind of on board. We have to access that bench, so we're proposing some sort of a ramp going north from along Foster Ave in that vicinity, which would bring us to repairing the toe and doing some revetment work in that area. I don't know the specifics yet. We're still at conceptual design.
Now, Rod, not to interrupt you, but that would be the further notice of intent you spoke about before, right?
Exactly. That would be a total new filing. we have to vet this with the regulators before that, and, you know, it's really at its early stages right now.
Well, Foster Avenue is a reasonably long street too, so it depends on, we're at 50 Foster Avenue. It depends on where your work is designed to be done. I would offer a suggestion, and it's probably 20 years in the making. At some point in time, you know Brant Rock and you know, what is it, Howland, no, not Howlands. Hewitt's Point. Hewitt's Point itself is a natural land mass that goes out. However, it was reinforced with riprap. At one point in time, when I was a kid, you could walk out on it without any difficulty at all. Today, it's somewhat askew. If there were you would call it a revetment, I would call it kind of a breakwater that would go from the end of that, or somewhere near the end of that, in the water area, up along the coast to about a 4th or 5th road. That seems like a very impossible task right at this stage of the game. I'm talking in 20 years. And then capsule it off with what I would call, what do they call, jacks, you know, used to play jack stones, et cetera, et cetera. You go anywhere in Europe.
Yes, sir, thank you for your comments, but that's way down the line. This is for authorizing the repairs.
Yeah.
And really what we do is authorize, you know, the work in the resource area.
I realize that. I realize that.
We don't design is what he's getting at.
Yeah.
If I could just add, I know it's a little bit off base here, but we initially looked at, on a conceptual level, an offshore structure similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Ballpark figure 60 million, and a lot of permitting. However, the use of dolos and core locks and concrete structures like that, we actually are considering that, at least at this point, to in lieu of bringing in heavier stone because of the availability and the cost.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to turn out, but we're starting to look at those types of structures because of their interlocking capabilities and wave attenuation properties. So
they're all over Europe, and they've been successful there, so there's no reason why they couldn't be used.
So to your point, I introduced beach renourishment in some of these projects, and it wasn't appropriate because they did a separate permit, and we just got that done. So duly noted on that stuff. It's innovative stuff.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Do we have comments from anybody else on the Zoom meeting? I see nobody else in the audience here. In that case, I think the commission has weighed in. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and issue special conditions. Bill, are there any special conditions?
Yeah. Jeremy, there's no category 3 here, right?
No category 3, correct.
Okay.
The only other comment I had is, how did Damon's Point get lumped in with?
Well,
Yeah, I was wondering that.
Rod wanted it, so we let it happen. No, what happened was he's done all the possible seawalls and revetment that are under the town jurisdiction, except for Damon. So what was Damon going to be, Region 4 on its own? It didn't make sense, so we brought it in. I could have added to Region 1, he could have added Region 2.
Okay.
I didn't object to it. And then when you and I talked, and we said, yeah, let's get the abutters, they
Just from the
complied.
abutter standpoint is.
They were notified. That's why the continuation, part of the reason why the continuations happened, And then we wanted a deep dive on the easements and the road right-of-ways, and they did that as well. So the supplemental information packet that you got right here is taking care of that. And this paves the way for making these real complete permits that are going to be the envy of other towns.
Okay, unusual special conditions, Bill.
Okay, I would say that this one is almost exactly the same as Region 2, except for we're going to be chopping Category 3 out, because I threw that in there. So if you accept that, then we are ready to go. Rod and Jeremy, really important to get beach access constantly updated, okay? And I'm going to probably write that in here in a way that the contractors and stuff can say, oh, it's in the orders, what am I going to do? So that we don't have to have arguments in the field and stuff, okay? So all accesses need to be notified. I just had one with the 2819, and a guy down at Brant Rock has been following up on me every week. So luckily, the contractors are complying. We're putting that away.
May I ask a question of you?
No. Madam Chair, save me.
A quick one, go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, Bert. Bert, I don't want that.
Is Jeremy a subcontractor, or is he a DPW?
He's a consultant to the town engineer and DPW. A contractor would be...
Private consultant,
Yeah.
with full infrastructure, registered PE in Massachusetts.
And then they have contractors that do the work, like Big and others, Northern, et cetera.
All right, so I made the motion to close the hearing and issue conditions. Have we got a second?
Yes.
Second is Art.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good, Mr. Rich, thank you so much. Okay, good job, gentlemen. Excellent, excellent.
Thank
Oh,
you.
by the way, one thing on this, the fees have been approved to be waived by a letter dated February 28, 2022 for the select board. So we've been getting those done.
Figure out a way to.
All right, sir.
All right, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rod, thank you,
Everybody,
Jeremy.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, we're now down to the good fun stuff.
Okay, request for certificate of compliance.
Correct. I believe that's
SE 42-0451, Fieldston by the Bay, 30 Old Beach Road. This request for certificate of compliance is for an invalid order of conditions. The approved single-family home was never built, as it was built under a separate approved orders of conditions, SE 42-0875, that came after the approval of SE 42-0451. So I move that we vote to approve an invalid certificate of compliance for SE 42-451. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, he'll be happy, thank you.
SE 42-1226, Telegraph Hill Realty, 10 Stony Brook Road. Everything seems to, all conditions seem to have been met. So I move that we vote to approve a complete certificate of compliance for SE 42-1226. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 459 Highland Street. I believe we are going to table this. Is that correct,
Yeah, I
Bill?
just wanted to get it down so
It's,
that you had
yeah,
it.
okay.
It's ongoing. It's going to be a table. You voted or not?
I move that we vote to table the discussion of SE 42-1763, 459 Highland Street, to the April 19th, 2022 public meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, SE 42-2217 and 2217A, Paris Realty Trust, John Sherman Estates, 0 Main Street subdivision. This extension, this is an extension of an order of conditions. This was approved for a 1-year extension 1 year ago, and none of the outstanding special conditions have been addressed. I am going to move that we vote to issue an extension of SE 42-2217 and 2217A to July 5th, 2025.
That's 3 months. You could put it at the 6 and go to October 5.
But we have 2025,
Oh, that's what meant 2022.
2022.
That's 3 months.
We're doing are you suggesting a 6 months extension?
I was going to suggest a 6-month
And I suggest
extension.
3 to get to 6. That's how I do it.
So that's what, 7, 8, that's October?
Yeah, I'm gonna check the date and make sure that works.
All right, yeah, make sure we have
We
that
got
right.
it. You see how I get to 6?
However, any future extensions will be contingent on measurable results
That works, August.
in completing the remaining special conditions.
That works.
So do we have that date right?
That works out. That's a Wednesday. That October 5, which is 6 months out, is a Wednesday.
Did they give you an update? Are all the lots sold?
No, Greg and I started to work with Art and I, and April last year. He asked me to recently send him the the latest information on what we worked on, and we've gotten none of the items complete. We started addressing them, but they're not complete, and that's it. That's where we are.
Okay, so I have that motion. Should I make that again, or?
I think you're fine. It's October 5, 2025.
October 25, 2022.
Jesus, I did it again. Sorry.
And any future extensions will be contingent on measurable results. May I have a second?
Second.
Art.
All in favor?
Aye.
SE 42 2728, Telegraph Hill Realty Trust at 10 Stony Brook Road. I move that we vote to approve a complete certificate of compliance for SE 42 2728. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have one enforcement order, 45 Central Street. This is a situation where we had 20 cubic yards of 1 1/4 inch.
Chair Hannafin, I made a mistake on that last one. The Telegraph Hill was a copy and paste mistake on my part.
Okay.
So you can kind of revoke it, or what we had done is, and I'll give you the rundown on it. All right, so what we just did was, the one that we voted on, it isn't 10 Stony Brook, it's 2728 is, let me read it to you. It is Bruner, 1 Maycombers Ridge Road, and it's a complete certificate of compliance. So I wouldn't recommend, I'll give it to you in a second. Bruner, 1 Maycombers Ridge.
I'll do this over.
Okay, and it's a COC. And then, yeah, so it's Bruner, 1 Makeovers Ridge. And I apologize for that.
Okay, so SE 42 2728, Bruner at 1 Maycombers Ridge Road. I move that we vote to approve a complete certificate of compliance for SE 42 2728. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for picking
And do I need to vote to reverse?
I would do it just because I just revoke, I would revoke the motion that I set you up with by accident. So
I move to revoke the motion for a certificate of compliance for SE 42 2728, misidentified as Telegraph Hill Realty Trust, 10 Stony Brook Road. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
clerical error on my part. A few of those. Okay.
45 Central Street, we had a
Right.
20 cubic yards of stone was poured in to the yard. A restoration plan has been submitted and appears to be acceptable. It includes pulling back the stone from the resource area and installing conservation markers and plantings. So I move that we vote to direct the conservation administrator to prepare an enforcement order for 45 Central Street for ratification during the April 19th Conservation Commission public meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And that completes our business.
Since this is a friendly enforcement order, Bill, is this going to include the notice of intent or the RDA or whatever is required?
No,
so that
I-
the work is completed?
So Chair Hannafin and I went down that avenue of after-the-fact NOI. I received an email back from Brad Holmes requesting the friendly enforcement order avenue, and Chair Hannafin agreed, so I'm agreeing, and hopefully the commission's agreeing.
Well, when it's done, is the person done with their work, or do they need to come back for something else?
Well, they're gonna get, you know, the typical planting plan, et cetera, and the 2 years. I think it's gonna be 2 years. And, they're gonna pull the stones back and put up conservation markers, so it's gonna have a little time on it, yeah. But it'll be friendly.
You understand what?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Chair Hannafin knows everything.
I think you know what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, yeah. But no,
It's all good, Bert.
Until it's not.
yeah, well. Okay, that concludes our business. I move to adjourn the Conservation Commission public meeting of April 5th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
All in
Art.
favor?
Meager,
Aye.
meager art there, okay. 9 PM, not too bad.
Okay.
So, you're good looking, I think, 2.5 hours, pretty good, you know? All right, we have signatures. Yay, we always have fun in conservation. Yep, you can't go anywhere, Art, you gotta sign stuff, all right?
What?